Hello and welcome back to the Active Spirit Live Edition, a video series from Active Chartered Financial Planners where we talk about some hot topics, emerging trends and offer guidance in the world of finance. In today's edition, we're going to be discussing the importance of being chartered. Now, several professions have chartered status associated with them, and today I'm going to be speaking to two experts to find out more about what the term means and what it means for the consumer. Joining me today are Ian Simons, and Ian is the Customer Director at the Chartered Insurance Institute, and my colleague Paul Gibson, Director and Chartered Financial Planner with myself at Active Chartered Financial Planners. So I'll come to you first, Ian, if you don't mind. What do you say chartered means for both individuals and firms?
Thanks very much. So we survey consumers on a 6-monthly basis to try and answer exactly that question, because whilst I've got very strong personal views, as you'd hope, as a member of a professional body, what really matters is what the client, the end consumer, feels about what chartered means. And as you say, there are professions that have got long established perceptions of chartered status. I'm sure many people would certainly accountants and surveyors, etc., quite often trip off the tongue, but it's been a few years now since we've been trying to raise awareness of chartered financial planning, for example, as a synonymous with the word chartered. So when we asked consumers what they believe chartered meant within the personal finance sphere, the top three answers they gave are that it means that they've completed professional qualifications, that they're a member of a professional body, and that they abide by a code of ethics. They also recognised that their technical knowledge is up to date and that they've got several years of experience in their area of expertise behind them. And that's mostly when they talk about what an individual would mean. When we ask why they would choose a chartered firm, the most common reason they give are that they see an accreditation with a professional body, closely followed by the importance of an ethical code of conduct and the commitment to good practice and good consumer outcomes. So there's a good understanding out there. I think there's room for improvement, room for improved clarity, but there's definitely a perception that focus on good customer outcomes and expertise and a code of ethics is core to what consumers believe they get when they choose chartered.
So Ian, you've mentioned about chartered status there, and is there any evidence to prove that clients and consumers actually appreciate it and value it?
Absolutely. In fact, 81% of consumers that we surveyed said that where they'd used a chartered individual in the past, they'd be more likely to use a chartered firm in the future.
Thanks, Ian. And on to Paul. Obviously, it is a status that's only held by a small proportion of not only individuals but firms as well. And we know firsthand how hard it is to actually achieve that chartered status. What would you say the biggest benefit of being chartered is to a client?
Well, as you said, Carl, we're massive believers in self-development here at Active. And to quote a few things, we always want to be the best version of what we can be, and we never stop learning. And you and I have invested heavily in the staff over the last 10 years. And as Ian said, like many other professionals, our client relationships are built mainly around trust. Without that trust, it is a service we're offering. We're not selling a product. We're giving advice. And chartered status for me and for our staff is that commitment to show that we're going above and beyond those minimum standards. We're given that commitment to ethical behaviours. It enhances knowledge hugely, and that obviously gives confidence to both, one, not just the advisor, but also the client as well. And we hope that all of this should just result in better client outcomes, better advice.
Thanks, Paul. And back to you, Ian, in terms of those numbers, do you know roughly how many chartered financial planners there are in the marketplace in today's world, and then how many chartered firms?
Yeah, there are around 23,000 individual chartered members of the Chartered Insurance Institute. A lot of those are on the general insurance side. I ought to remember, but I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what proportion of those are financial planners, but a good proportion of those. And there are around 900 chartered firms. Actually, the majority of those are financial planning firms.
Fantastic. And I think obviously a core around the chartered status is to give better quality advice. That's obviously a driver behind it. And would you say as an institute, have you seen that actually go through to the bottom line, let's say, in terms of firms that are offering that higher level of financial planning in terms of complaints and, you know, only the negative stuff that tends to appear in the media? Have we seen an increase in standards?
It's hard to prove one way or another, and that's me being as objective as possible. I'd like to be able to say that's guaranteed, as we know there are different ways of analysing that, and we are looking for ways to evidence the objective differences. I mean, fundamentally, in order to achieve chartered status as an individual, you need to have demonstrated, as was just said, going above and beyond, so achieving that advanced diploma level and having at least 5 years worth of sector expertise and being an ongoing member of the PFS or Chartered Insurance Institute. So those we do believe are strongly aligned to those positive customer outcomes because of the enhanced capability and ethical approach that those should enable people to have.
Thanks, Ian. And back to you, Paul. You obviously head up the chartered status within Active. It's a huge part of our business plan and what we stand for. And it's probably fair to say that we have seen a significant benefit off the back of that in terms of clients that actually choose Active and come to us. But just to go a bit deeper, we've said what you need to be to become chartered, but it's all around that continuation, isn't it, about standards? And your role is very much around the support that you give to the advisors once they achieve that level.
Yeah, that's right, Carl. Yeah. One of my key roles and responsibilities within Active is overseeing the personal development. And it's probably worth mentioning that, at the top end, that's the chartered status, but it starts right from the bottom in this firm. We do apprenticeship programs via the CII as well. So those just starting out in our industry, we embed that into the culture of the firm. We get them involved at a very early stage. And from the apprenticeship, they tend to progress on to the level 4 qualification to become a financial advisor, and then ultimately to chartered status, and then the pinnacle of fellowship status, which is a mix of industry credits, a lot of exams, and backed up with that industry experience as well. So, yeah, it's something I'm very passionate about. You know, staff are working full time and they often need 100 hours plus study time to get through just a single exam. And chartered status will often involve a pathway. There's a lot of specialist exams when you look to become chartered. So I can help staff plan for those, plan for that pathway due to the whole range that they can go through. And really just mentor and coach them through it. Just be somebody that's in-house that can help them if they're struggling. And I've sat them all, so I've got the experience, and it's just trying to get people through when they may just be struggling.
Thanks, Paul. So in summary, it is a case of, if that's the benchmark of where you need to be a financial advisor, go above and beyond, but not only to do that as a once-off, but it's actually maintaining that moving forward in the hope that better outcomes are actually delivered for clients and a better standard of advice is actually given.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what we stand for.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Paul, and thank you, Ian. That's been great, and thank you very much for joining me. So there you have it. Hopefully, this short episode of the Active Spirit Live Edition has provided a useful insight into what it means to be chartered. When you're considering which professional service provider to use or which one is right for you, using tools like a chartered status can be a useful indicator of experience and technical competence. Thank you again for joining us on this episode. And thanks again to my guests Ian Simons and Paul Gibson. Do join us next time.